Will Hope Summers and the rest of the Krakoan Council in exile be able to escape the White-Hot Room? Or has Xavier's newest betrayal sealed their fates? Well, let's hop into the pages of X-Men Forever issue number 2 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so as we hop into this new issue, they go out of their way to loudly declare that the events of this comic take place concurrently with the events of Fall of the House of X. In fact, X-Men Forever is only 2 issues in, and the mission statement of this book basically seems to be, hey, let's try and explain some stuff that may have been a little vague. In the main book, case in point, you'll know that Mother Righteous had managed to escape her bonds by briefly joining forces with Charles Xavier, who was defecting to join the robots of Orchis. You'll also remember that she had a homunculus that she was using to communicate with the mutants of the White-Hot Room. Before it melts away, Xavier actually hijacks this thing and uses it to warn the other X-Men of his defection. He also says that they should probably get to work on resurrecting Hope and Rasputin 4 and basically every other X-Men who's died, because they're going to need all hands on deck and all the muscle that they can muster if they hope to survive this final push. And yes, this also kind of recontextualizes Xavier's betrayal. Like, yes, he's out of hope and he's doing the only thing that he thinks might actually end up saving mutant kind, even if it only saves them in a reserve sort of sense. But he's also going out of his way to actively try and empower the rest of the mutant community, including the former members of the Quiet Council, to rise to the occasion and do everything they can to lead mutant kind in Xavier's stead. Kind of a messed up way to motivate people if you ask me, but hey, that's where we are right now. The most pressing issues for the mutants in the White-Hot Room are still the same as they've ever been. How do we resurrect the Phoenix, and how the hell do we get back home to reinforce the rest of the X-Men? Right off the bat, they start making some major compromises, like once again resurrecting Mr. Sinister. Rachel is understandably royally pissed, though again, they have to theorize if this was also all part of Charles Xavier's much bigger plan and design, killing Sinister when he did so he would be usable by the mutants in the White-Hot Room. Weirdly, it's Exodus who actually ends up kind of defending Xavier's course of action, saying he's a man at the end of his rope doing anything and everything he can to try and make a difference. He's a man dangerously close to losing out on his dream and by extension his very own identity, and if the tables were turned, would Rachel be willing to go that far to stop her Dark Hound future from coming to fruition? Again, a little bit of food for thought. It's actually Destiny of all people who seemingly vows to keep Mr. Sinister in line, and she even pulls out the now kind of iconic line from this series when it comes to Kieran Gillen's X-Men stories, we must be on the same side. Of course, Destiny is more interested in going home just because she wants to be reunited with Mystique, and oh yeah, Destiny even shares with Hope and the others what you would have known if you read that X-Men Blue special, and that is that Destiny and Mystique are actually Nightcrawler's real parents. It's like a whole thing, go read the book, it's pretty cool. I only bring it up because it's actually one of the few moments this series is actually able to get across of actual real palpable characterization, where everywhere else in the comic it feels like they're just kind of ticking boxes. Case in point, Rachel and Prodigy wonder how the hell they're going to actually manage to bring the Phoenix back. Again, the Phoenix Force has died many different times before, but this is different. They need to actually rebuild this cosmic entity from scratch. Hell, the mutants even theorize perhaps the reason that we haven't seen the Phoenix Force during this whole Krakoan era is because the Dominions, powerful god beings that they are, were actively manipulating things behind the scenes out of fear of facing the fabled Phoenix Blade. It's here too, they also pay off some stuff I didn't actually read in Dead X-Men. Apparently Prodigy had a whole multiversal adventure wherein he was empowered by Macan crystals, meaning that in him exists a multitude of other universes, including universes where the Phoenix is alive and well, so if they're able to take that energy and transpose it on the piece of Krakoa they're all currently living on, then maybe they can use that power in concert with a sacrifice of Jean Grey to not only bring the Phoenix back, but create a newer, more powerful Phoenix, an infinite Phoenix, if you will. No, I don't totally 100% understand what I just said, but hey, I'm gonna go with it for the sake of the story. After that, though, we are treated to actually a pretty nice bit of characterization as Exodus and some of the other non-combat focused mutants wonder what will happen to them in the White-Hot Room after everyone else important leaves to go fight Orchis, Exodus actually feels bad because if you remember when all of this started in Immortal X-Men, he was kind of acting like the Moses who was going to lead his people out of the desert. Now it seems like that's not going to be the case anymore. But he does, however, vow to carry their story with him, meaning that they'll always be important. After that, the major ploy that we saw at the end of Fall of the House of X ends up paying off. Mr. Sinister, using the genes that he managed to save from Cypher, is able to talk with this part of Krakoa and form a psychic link with the ones back on Earth, in doing so creating brand new flower portals that our heroes are able to teleport through. Another big question Hope has been asking herself throughout this series is how the hell is she going to find a fire hot enough to burn Jean Grey and reawaken the Phoenix Force? What fire is hot enough to burn someone as powerful as Jean? Well, the answer is Jean's own fire. Up until now, Jean had kind of been stuck in this weird undeath where she kept repeating now and forever over and over again. But wouldn't you know it, the second her physical body melts away, she's freed from this loop and once again resurrected as the Phoenix Force. Though as the comic comes to a close, we realize that this version of the Phoenix Force is indeed different, just not in the way they had expected. It's not maybe the all-unstoppable, unknowing, all-powerful cosmic being. Instead, it actually seems to be afraid, implying that it knows more about what's going on here than anyone else. And it's on that note the comic comes to a close. So that was X-Men Forever issue number 2, everybody. And while it risks repeating myself, I can't help but feel about this issue how I felt about the last several X-Men stories, and that is there is definitely a lot of good stuff sprinkled in here. But I just can't help but shake the feeling that all of this is just supplemental material to what's going on in the other books, and the fact that it's happening concurrently with Rise of and House of, I just feel like so much of the tension and drama disappears when I already know what's going to happen. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate this and the main X-Men book actually offering up answers and continuing character journeys for characters like Destiny and Exodus. It just kind of feels like an afterthought, and I don't particularly like reading something that feels like an afterthought, or worse, something that actually feels like I'm just reading the writer's own margin notes like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff I wasn't able to get into the bigger book, so instead I decided to just shuffle it all off here to this one. This issue especially just kind of ended up feeling really dry and technical, which is why I can really only give this one a 6.5 out of 10. I'm gonna stick with it because, again, I've stuck with X-Men for this long, but still, I wish I was enjoying this as much as I was enjoying Immortal X-Men at its peak. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.